conservative move. Like, I'm more offended that you're calling me a racist than the actual act of racism that I engaged in and entertain. It's the same. That's exactly what's going on here. Oh, dude, what? You called me a racist? How dare you? That's what it is. But I think the funniest thing is that you have real grounds for defamation. No, dude. And Ethan knows that he doesn't have real grounds for defamation against Noah either. Okay? Public figures suing one another for defamation is kind of idiotic. I have grounds to sue Destiny and Ethan for defamation. I would never do that in a million years. Okay? Part of the reason why I would never do that in a million years is because what kind of financial damages can I point to? Like, the context nuke flopped just because someone defames you. Like, that's one of the aspects here is just like what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? Since his context nuke didn't work, he's been brigading everything that I've that I've been a part of, literally calling out journalists that have interviewed me even before the video came out, constantly telling people like, how do you engage in talks with a person who is like a rape denialist or whatever. I don't know, just like ridiculous shit over and over again. Stop saying you won't sue them. Why do you lay yourself prostrate in front of fascists? Because I'm not a bitch. That's number one. And number two is I also understand how defamation suits work, okay? For the most part, Ethan's lawyers, I think, are just farming him for money by saying, yes, King, there's definitely something we can get out of here. Kind of how Ryan Kavanaugh's lawyers have farmed Ryan Kavanaugh, seemingly. Law student here, the Supreme Court set a very high standard for defamation suits against public figures on matters of public concern. You would have to prove that no statements were made with knowledge of their falsity or reckless disregard for the truth. This actual malice standard is a very high threshold to meet. Yes, law student here is correct. The actual malice standard is a very high threshold to meet, and so any lawsuit is definitely meritless. There also needs to be like what are the material damages that you can show in that situation? You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know why Americans love litigation so much. They constantly act like suing someone is a power move. It's not. You're bitch made, okay? Trash Day's not inviting you back. Oxbridge Talk's not coming out. At least a loss of business. Is it a stretch? Trash Day's not inviting me back. Okay, dude. Yeah. I'm going to go to a court and be like, hey, guys, this anime podcast might not invite me back, which they probably will when I go visit Japan anyway, but that's going to be, it's really hitting the bank big time. Oxford, you mean? And the Oxford Talk's not coming out has nothing to do with Ethan. What the f are you talking about? They knew I was a radical before they invited me, dumbass. That's why they invited me. No, the reason why the Oxford Talks haven't come out is because it's a bunch of students. It's run by a bunch of students, and they're not very good at responding to emails. I like that. Maybe that's why people keep constantly asking me about the Oxford Talk. They think that like it's hidden or something. Like, dude, they had way more controversial back and forth on Oxford. Oxbridge is Oxford and Cambridge. The Cambridge one is out. I filmed it. Anyway, let's continue.
Class will operate in the coming decades when it's time to answer for their crimes of manufacturing consent for a genocide. They will simply say, no, I didn't. If they say anything at all, most of them won't. It's happened throughout history. It happened with the Vietnam War. It happened with the invasion of Iraq. And it'll happen again with Gaza. What makes Gaza a bit different, though, is that unlike prior US-backed atrocities abroad, we all know what's been happening there the entire time. Israel's genocide of Palestinians in Gaza has been called the first ever live-streamed genocide because we've seen the entire thing as it's happened with high-definition cell phone video. The mass destruction, the ruthless attacks on the healthcare system, the deliberate targeting of men, women, children, medics, aid workers, the intentional starvation used by Israel as a weapon of war, and then the massacres that followed that starvation when Palestinians crowded around aid trucks trying to get what little food Israel...
Yeah, it's ironic because, like, they do try to get financial damages. They do try to, like, materially harm me by constantly calling out my sponsors. Yeah, E was the first guy to cry about your Ubisoft sponsor. Now Elon is doing that, allies in your hatred for you. Yeah, it just hasn't worked. You know what I mean? It just has not worked. So what am I supposed to do? Yeah, they're defaming me. It's true. They are. But what happens when defamation is unsuccessful? You know, what do you do? Plus, even if it was successful, I still don't care. I just don't care. I don't want to spend any time on this. It's not me capitulating to fascists or whatever. I just, you know, I have more important to worry about. Okay? Like, what are you talking about?
Was allowing into the Strip the 20,000 slain children, many of them slaughtered with their entire families, the IDF terrorists recording and posting their war crimes, acts of humiliation, degradation, their torture and rape of Palestinians, the full support of Israel throughout all of these atrocities, the vile, dehumanizing racism that is required to uphold a project like this.
I just think we need to kill them, every one of them, and that's it. And if not that, because the country will not let that happen, the government. Just the least we can do is just kick them out of our land, because this is our home, this is our land, and we deserve it.
What do you think about Palestinians?
That I hate them, and I wish they all died. We didn't stop, and we killed everyone.
You're gonna kill everyone?
Yes, yes!
You guys are animals. You guys are f***ing animal terrorists.
You killed 10,000 kids.
10,000 terrorists that would grow out to be the next. 10,000 kids that would grow out to be the next terrorist. That's what it is.
Really?
Because it's Palestine,
But I'm Palestinian. Does that mean I'm a terrorist?
yes. Mm-hmm.
I'm a terrorist.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want Palestinians in Gaza to die?
Yes.
All of them?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my God.
We've seen all of this, which is why the whole "no, I didn't" defense doesn't hold up, because, you know, yes, you did. We have you on video during this genocide that everyone saw, spreading propaganda that's been used to justify that genocide.
It's so vile to deny the suffering and trauma of the victims just because you need your heroes at Hamas to be perfect.
My friend.
Yeah, like, that's the thing that also frustrates me. Like, these guys actively made YouTube videos and, like, on people like myself for calling out Israel, or worse, because they didn't even have a position on Israel. Like with Mudahar, I don't think he did it specifically because he wanted to defend Israel. Okay, I don't know what is in his mind and the way that he operates, but I think his reasoning for making that video was unironically to just like farm some ad revenue out of it. You know what I mean? It was just a grift. He openly admits he's not very knowledgeable on the situation and then actively takes a position. And it's so sad. It's so pathetic to do that for clout, dude. Oh my God. The least you could do with a massive platform like you have is to do a little bit more reading on this matter. You know what I mean? Mudahar just wanted to stay with mainstream commentary people that hate you. Exactly. They're all in the group chats with one another alongside Keemstar. They all did that. Like, they all actively have done this. All right, let's continue.
Defeating our brutal enemies requires both courage and clarity. Clarity begins by knowing the difference between good and evil. And these monsters, they rape women, they burn babies alive. Many anti-Israel protesters, many choose to stand with evil. They stand with Hamas. They stand with rapists and murderers.
The Gazan Health Ministry, which, by the way, Gaza Health Ministry is run by Hamas, terrorist organization. I think a lot of people are all too happy to not look too deep into these things, but again, Gaza Health Ministry.
It's crazy. I'm glad that there is the bottom text here from Noah talking about the Gazan Health Ministry. Its numbers have historically been considered reliable by United Nations, the World Health Organization, and Human Rights Watch in relation to the Israel-Hamas war. 2 letters published in the Lancet Journal did not find evidence of inflation or fabrication of Palestinian casualty numbers. We've talked about this quite a bit at the time when Joe Biden went forward with this gross, egregious, genocide denialist lie. Oh, it's the Hamas Health Ministry. I don't trust their numbers, said the American president at a time when Israel was doing a genocide. After that, every media outlet changed the way that they covered it. They kept repeating it over and over again. This was Israeli propaganda through and through, besmirching the otherwise completely accurate numbers, oftentimes unironically an undercount, as a matter of fact, by basically associating it like Hamas-run health ministry. We can't trust it. Okay? Now, what's interesting about this, what's incredibly frustrating about this, this thing that Ethan is going along with, by the way, what's insane about it is that every single party, including the American State Department and the Israeli government, use the Hamas-run health ministry numbers. They always have, and they continue to do so to this day. They simultaneously lied and said, we disparage these numbers, we don't believe these numbers because it's like run by Hamas, but they still use it and they know full well that it's the most accurate assessment you can make. How up is that? How incredible is that? The question remains here for Ethan. Is he stupid or is he lying? Maybe both.
Is Hamas. There was more Jews displaced than Palestinians during the Nakba.
We have you on video attacking and delegitimizing the only groups in the world militarily resisting that genocide, with arguments plucked directly from the U.S. State Department, the #1 material supporter of the genocide.
Terrorist groups.
We have you on video attacking and delegitimizing the most prominent media figures in the YouTube space who have been advocating against the genocide and breaking down the propaganda used to justify it.
Hassan loves all terrorists.
We have you on video running defense for the primary architects of the genocide.
Just the other day, Bibi fired a really good guy that a lot of people are pissed about, and he fired him because they had a disagreement, and that's like so Trump code.
He was like a moderating voice in the war room.
Yeah.
A complete siege on Gaza. No electricity, no food, no fuel, no water. Everything is closed. We are fighting human animals, and we act accordingly. That's what he said. And then he launched a genocide on the Palestinian population as the defense minister. Ironically enough, that statement, alongside many other actions that Yoav Gallant took, led him to be on the arrest warrant by the International Criminal Court. The International Criminal Court's arrest warrant also names him as a war criminal, alongside Benjamin Netanyahu.
We have you on video attempting to portray the perpetrator of that genocide as some kind of beautiful, free, diverse, democratic state.
We're planning to go to Israel in June with my parents and all the kids. It's going to be such a great trip. And I'm actually really excited to go there. I want to show you guys.
You haven't been there in so long.
It's been a long time. What I want to do is show you guys how I see Israel. Because you don't see that. When you listen to Hassan and you hear all these mega lefties talking about it, like it's some super racist, like crazy, like Jim Crow style of society. Like, I can't wait to show you guys how beautiful, how multicultural, how...
Like, this right here is enough. That right there is enough to be like, I'm going to go to the Jim Crow South to show you guys that these folks are talking about segregation. Separate but equal, okay? What is this? I'm going to go to apartheid South Africa to show you guys how multicultural, multi-ethnic apartheid South Africa is. All these freaking wokes who love the terrorists within the ANC are just disparaging the good name of South Africa. It's crazy, dude. What do you mean? You're just straightforwardly doing propaganda here for an apartheid state that is currently conducting a genocide, like your goddamn Michael Rappaport.
Like free fields for people, or just it's a beautiful place. It is. It's one of the most diverse places I've ever been.
These people all seem to believe that in order for someone to back a genocide...
It's ironic because he lived in Israel, and from what I understand, he hated it. That's why he moved back to America. He's like, this place sucks. Post October 7th, though, now he's like, no, I love Israel. It's actually multicultural. It's amazing.
They need to like look into the camera and say, I support genocide. I think it's good. More of that, please. And while we do have examples of certain parties to the conflict here doing just that, like Destiny and Asmongold,
I'm not going to cry forever when people who have genocide that's baked into their laws are getting genocided. I don't give a they're terrible people.
I'm pro-genocide. Like, it sounds really but like, I think that Israel should just draw its borders about where it is now, and basically Palestinians can go live in another place.
The most common and effective way to back a genocide doesn't look like that. Mainstream Western outlets don't say those Palestinian kids deserve to be killed. No, they say that some kids died when bombs dropped, that Israel says it was dropping on Hamas, which is a U.S. designated terrorist organization. The mainstream Western media doesn't say that there are no innocent civilians in Gaza. They simply quote the death tolls as being reported by the Hamas, aka terrorist-run health ministry, and then report uncritically basically the IDF saying that most of them are soldiers, actually. And soldiers are terrorists, by the way, so who's to say what's actually true? The mainstream Western media doesn't say that Yemeni children deserve to die because they're all Houthi terrorists. They simply cite the Houthi-run health ministry, aka terrorist-run health ministry. So when the US and Saudi Arabia kill those children, it's a sad event and the overall morally righteous fight against terrorists. Terrorism is bad, remember, and terrorists are the bad guys. So if some kids died while they were going after terrorists, you know, I guess that's just war. We saw the same response of "No, I didn't" from Mutahar of the large YouTube channel Some Ordinary Gamers. When Hassan Piker shared my video on his Instagram story, Mutahar responded to this post writing, "I get watching other people's videos is all you're really good at, but try vetting out slander before promoting. I have never defended..."
Which is ironic because, like, he's literally slandering me in that process. Like, the notion that I only watch other people's YouTube videos is such a stupid one, especially because every single week I'm either interviewing another journalist, an activist, including the guys that just won an Oscar for No Other Land, or Bernie Sanders and AOC at their rally. Like, these people don't care about anything. That's what's so frustrating about it. Like, you're a flop tuber. Just stick to Linux the Linux videos, okay? That's all you got to do. I don't know why you have to, like, enter this territory and then establish your flag as a guy who just, like, hates this song dude. It doesn't make any sense. Dude who's too lazy to take a shower and, like, clean his goddamn t-shirt in his videos. Dude who's too lazy to do any research whatsoever before he just goes, you don't do anything else. I said Linus, sorry. I meant Linux. It's so weird, man. How the did Ethan and a lot of these guys go from, like, being people who care about the truth to this, you know? To whatever the this is.
Or back to the Israeli genocide on innocent Gazans, never will I ever. Following this, there was a bit of a back and forth. Hassan responded to Mutahar on Twitter, writing, "In your only video on Gaza, you admit to not knowing about politics. You try to cover Israel-Palestine as drama slop for a centrist audience. You defend Asmongold for his inferior cultures and genocide comment, then attack pro-Palestinian voices." Mutahar wrote back, "Yes, I do admit to not being an expert on the topic. I didn't cover it as a drama since it isn't one. Serious situations with dead people and attacks happening every day. I just don't downplay rapes and sugarcoat violent organizations like you. Also didn't defend Asmin in vid." Later, Hassan wrote, "We were a year into the genocide here. This was your only video on the topic. It downplayed and ran defense for Asmongold's takes, while the bulk of your commentary revolved around how evil the pro-Palestinian streamers were from clips you compiled off of snark Reddits." Mutahar's final response was, "It's almost as if the bulk of the commentary matched what the video was titled and centered about, Twitch allowing violent and unfiltered rhetoric from your camp on its platform. The clips were actually sourced from the creators who streamed them." So what do we make of this exchange? Well, first, Mutahar denied covering the genocide as drama, but that's exactly what he did. He has never once uploaded a video covering this topic, except for when that coverage was filtered through a smear campaign that was making the rounds in the commentary community about a content creator they all don't like. You know, Hassan Bad. He denies defending Asmongold in his video, once again making no effort to actually defend himself on that point. But that's also false. Mutahar whitewashed Asmongold's comments further than anyone else, really. He went so far as to change the content of what Asmongold actually said to make it seem like he wasn't talking about Palestinians when he was.
In this situation, one could, if they were to extend the charitability, could say that Asmongold was probably referring to extremists in the Islamic religion.
Even Asmongold himself admitted that that's what he said when he apologized. This is why he was banned. Now, whether Mutahar stands by this characterization of Asmongold's genocidal rhetoric or not is a different question, but he did do that, and the record shows this. His video is still uploaded on his channel. You can go watch it. Denying this seems to be just indicative of a lack of reflection on his part. Entirely predictable, but worth noting nonetheless.
I think a lot of these guys also don't care because they know their audience won't check them and then try to maintain any sort of accountability for false statements. We are now officially living in the post-truth universe. I know it sounds kind of libbed up and silly whenever I say this, but it quite literally is the case. Nobody cares. No one cares about what the truth is. That's precisely the reason why so many people come in here and will hear me advocate for certain things and refuse to listen to my advocacy and still operate on the basis of, like, what motivated them to come here because they watched a smear video. Like, even when the truth is hitting them directly in the head, they still refuse to grasp it. Absolutely. When I was in that echo chamber, there was just no outside source that could matter or change my opinion on you that I had pre-built. Nothing to do with politics at all. Yeah, that's the other side of it. It is also, once again, poisoning the well. Because they don't want to actually go after the arguments that I'm presenting, they just attack the messenger instead. And they do so by smearing. Like the silliest, from the silliest things to the most severe allegations that are completely untrue and also easily dismissible, for the record. And yet, because most people don't care about that context, it doesn't matter. People are just like interested in participating in the smear campaign themselves, as they feel as though they're doing something that gives them a sense of purpose, and as though they are a part of a community. You know, is there a way to fix the issue? I don't know, but I won't stop trying to abide by best standards and practices, you know, no matter what other people do. Your only comment about Muda is that he is dirty and does not shower. I'm sick and tired of this anti-Indian racism. Why is your comment for Muda that he does not shower? Come on. Dude, he literally has stains on his shirt, like, while he was doing this video. What the f are you talking about? Yeah, dude, I'm secretly doing anti-Indian racism. That's not my only comment on Mudahar. The f are you talking about? Did you not hear half of the commentary from Noah, or him literally reading my comments against Mudahar? The f are you talking about? This is unironically the example, the example that I was maintaining, like right here. This is it. Guy comes in, doesn't hear a thing I said, immediately grabs on to something and just basically angles it in the most cynical way possible.
Watch it. Denying this seems to be just that, and the record shows Gold's. This is why he was banned. Now, whether Mudahar stands by this characterization of Asmongold's genocidal rhetoric or not is a different question, but he did do that, and the record shows this. His video is still uploaded on his channel. You can go watch it. Denying this seems to be just indicative of a lack of reflection on his part. Entirely predictable, but worth noting nonetheless. The "no, I didn't" defense is the expected response from centrists and liberal Zionists alike, but I don't know how well it'll hold up in court. I didn't back genocide. How could you say that? I just sat silently the entire time it happened, except for the one time I spoke up, which was Didn't
Hassan speak out against the racism that led Mudahar to leave Twitter? Of course, dude. Because yes, I think the endless faucet of anti-Indian hatred online that is so super normalized is insane.
Actually, to attack pro-Palestine activists with bad faith smears that originate from a community of openly genocidal Zionists.
I'm pro-genocide. They're terrible people.
Best of luck to you in your legal endeavors should you pursue them. I don't know how well that'll hold up, but have fun, I guess. In his last tweet, Mudahar seems to deny his participation in the smear campaign, writing, "The clips were sourced from the creators who streamed them. This is false." Mudahar did not source these clips from Hassan's stream. He sourced these clips directly from the smear website. He cited the website out loud and said, "Go check it out, guys."
That's a website known as DanClancySucks.com.
That was where, yeah, this was also insane. Like, he highlighted the as like smear campaign website. Like, how do you, oh God, how do you live with yourself, dude? Well, it's so gross.
Of some of the most popular streamers on the site, one of the most popular political streamer, Hassan Piker.
As we went over, this website is a compilation of out-of-context clips and arguments attacking pro-Palestine creators that openly embraces the support of genocidal Zionist organizations like the ADL and genocidal Zionist politicians like...
Yeah, also, if you don't know anything about anything, like the Amsterdam quote-unquote pogroms, right? Virtually everyone, including people that were there at the time, including media outlets that ran with the pogrom happening, the anti-Jewish pogroms that were happening, went back and corrected the record because it was a lie. They even literally used footage from an on-the-ground reporter that showed that it was actually the Maccabi football hooligans from Israel that were fighting against the locals there. They were like hunting down locals, and they genuinely presented it as though the situation was the exact opposite. It was that it was actually the local Muslims that were hunting down Jews, right? If you don't know the context of that and you just literally look at this and you listen to the ADL and you go, oh, when one of the largest streamers on Twitch, Sean Parker, spends the hours after the Amsterdam pogrom minimizing its harm without consequence, it's clear the platform still has far to go. That's it. You're like, oh, I guess this guy's bad. He's anti-Semite, I guess. That's why so many of the people that come in here and agitate at the behest of these other dumbasses are doing, sometimes they're pro-Palestinian, literally, but they just are oblivious. They don't know enough. And then the random Jew hunts happened after. No, it didn't. Shut up. Jesus Christ. People still going after fake, dude. Oh my God, it was football hooligans. What are you talking about? No, the other on the ground reporter was a 16-year-old Nordic kid. That's not who I'm talking about. There was like a photojournalist there who was filming the events, and they literally ripped her video to be like to say the exact opposite of what she shot.
Support of genocidal Zionist organizations like the ADL and genocidal Zionist politicians like Richie Torres. The community from which all of these allegations originate is that of a content creator who says things like this.
He is interviewing the guy who's about to go do some get himself killed, basically. That's what's gonna happen. We know from this point, that's what's gonna happen. So he walks away, gets back a little bit, and then he sets up behind this thing, right? Is this concealment, I guess? Not cover, concealment, right? Because I think the tank's over here. So now he can capture the footage right here. He sees the guys walking, knowing that they're about to get shot, because that's what's gonna happen. And then eventually they get shot and everything is, this is it. It's like act 1, 2, and 3. It's like all here. Now this guy is down. He's dead. These guys are like fatally wounded. They're not even running. They're not even like cowering and running away and screaming in fear. There's like, okay, well, they did it. We got our shots. Okay, is this guy done? Oh, okay. Well, we brought the white flag so we can put that over the bleeding part. Assuming he got shot in right? Flag. And then this guy, what, is this guy running back to grab the wife?
By this stage, the man's wife, his widow, has heard what happened.
And then, like, what does this mean? The wife has heard what happened. Like, bro, this is crazy. I'm sorry. The tracking live movement shot of the lady running up to her dead husband? Like, what is this?
By this stage, the man's wife, his widow, has heard what happened.
Somebody went back and told her, right? The 5 martyrs that walked forward, you know, your husband was the unlucky guy. You drew the short stick today, so come forward, cry for us on camera. Do you think the guy intentionally wanted to get killed? No, I don't think he wanted to die. I don't think they were thinking they were going to die, but they probably were hoping to get shot at, or maybe, so you're saying the woman was acting? I don't think the woman was acting. She probably was sincerely sad. Her husband got killed. But I think they were farming TikTok clips. I mean, remember, these people actually, yeah, like have suicide bombers. So it's not that big of a stretch to imagine that they would be willing to get shot. However, now, I haven't gone down this road because this is way more, it would require me to make a lot more assumptions, but it's also possible he didn't get shot, right? Now, do we know the name of the guy? Is he actually dead? Do we even know if this is his wife? These are a whole bunch.
I had never seen the full clip. I don't remember him going, notice how he almost said way more conservative and then stopped himself because he has to aesthetically maintain that he is like a liberal, a true liberal. Way more, because I mean, this would be way crazier in terms of speculation, or maybe conspiratorial. I don't know. Maybe he wanted to maybe he wanted to say conspiratorial, which it is, by the way. It is a conspiracy, and it's conservative, for the record. It is conspiratorial, and it is conservative. He just didn't want to admit it because he has to be the liberal who only says the truth. He doesn't speculate about conspiracy theories. I don't think he was going to say convoluted. Not that it matters. Look at what he's doing, okay? My speculation on this is utterly irrelevant.
Bunch of questions that would be valid. Now, if I was way more on the pro-Zionist side, I would be asking those questions. Who is this guy? Do we even know if he's actually dead? Like, we don't actually see the wound, right? It seems like they don't have any problem showing anything else. Like, why just the white flag so that it can look all bloody? Like, show us the actual gunshot. You have no problem showing other violence, right? What Pallywood means is that you're capturing intentional video footage to sell a certain narrative about what's going on, basically. So Pallywood might be, this, right? So the idea is that like 4 innocent civilians are like walking up and you just want like a clip here of the IDF shooting them.
It's crazy that this person is not seen as like a violent radical by the very same drama slop tubers who are friends with him and get their notes from him. But I am for speaking out against these actions. Like, think about how distorted your worldview has to be, where you are fantasizing about an apartheid state murdering Palestinian civilians with a white flag and then saying, oh, they deserved it. Victim blaming to this degree. Jesus Christ, dude.
For no reason because they're civilians with white flags, and you kind of ignore the fact that, like, okay, well, they're in a battle zone in an area they were told to evacuate from, and they're going back to try to release somebody that was captured. Like, that's like Hollywood, I think. You're essentially provoking the enemy to take what is largely a justified action and then trying to say that it's like indiscriminate civilian killing. It's like a setup. It's not fake, but they're doing it to themselves.
Speaking of that guy, Destiny, the genocidal Zionist sex criminal video game streamer, he also had a crack at responding to my video where he made some interesting points. Destiny criticized my characterization of the 2018 Gaza border protests as being overwhelmingly peaceful by citing instances of violent actions that protesters took part in during the 2018 border protests, or the Great March of Return, which were recognized by human rights organizations as being overwhelmingly peaceful.
Overwhelmingly peaceful. Just as a quick thing, because people love to talk about the Great March of Return, the peaceful March of Return. All this is like the peaceful Great March.
Dude, how are you not recognizing this is the same shit that, like, liberal, by the way, saying the same shit about the Palestinian marches about that people say about Black Lives Matter.
March of Return. Remember this, okay? This is all the peaceful Great March of Return.
Now, when I use the word overwhelmingly in my video,
he says it's about Black Lives Matter too. I mean, he is a Kyle Rittenhouse defender, to be fair, so yeah, he does.
I used it as the word is meant to be used, which is to mean overwhelmingly, which means what the word means, which is to a very great degree or with a great majority.
Overwhelmingly.
Some instances of violence during these protests do not contradict my use of this word. The protests were overwhelmingly nonviolent, which is exactly what the UN report found.
The protest camps set up along the fence can make you do a double take. In parts, they look like a community festival, a carnival, a fair, like a distant cousin to Burning Man. Women prepare falafel sandwiches. Barbers give haircuts and trim beards. Lip syncers and dancers perform in the shade. Actors ham it up playing cruel Israeli soldiers. Families come with their children.
Ultimately, though, regardless of how the protests were characterized overall, the reason I brought them up in my video was as evidence that Israel has a history of intentionally targeting Palestinian civilians for slaughter. That's what the UN report found. Israeli snipers intentionally targeted medics, journalists, men, women, children, elderly people, and disabled people. Cite whatever instances of property damage, tire burning, flag planting, rock throwing you want. These are irrelevant to the fact that Israel intentionally targeted thousands of civilians with sniper fire. The Commission interviewed an international journalist covering the demonstrations at the Malika site who described the scene that day. What was notable was the amount of injured people and the slow, methodical shooting. Every few minutes, you would hear a shot ring out and you would see someone fall, and then another shot and another person fell. It went on for hours. I saw a man who had been shot in the throat.
Yeah, the IDF also took credit over every bullet on a tweet. I don't take this as an offense, hopefully, but what happened that you and D grew apart? Did you at one point realize that his worldview was messed up, or did he turn on you once you had more success? Like, what's the story here? I don't want to get into the weeds of it, but I realized that his community was not as progressive or as liberal or genuinely empathetic as I thought it was initially, and that he himself was not really interested in advancing a cause, but more so just simply for the blood sport. And yes, in the same time frame, I was also growing as a content creator and had actually eclipsed him, and he can't stand that. He literally needs his orbiters in his mind, okay, people that he has a very transactional approach to constantly be by his side. And there are logs to prove this point. This is not speculation. There are logs all the way back from, like, I think 2018 or 2019, not 2018, sorry, 2019, talking about how frustrated he was that, you know, I had more exposure than he did. I never really cared about or thought about it like that. I think it's, like, really sad that this was the primary motivator for him, but I mean, he has voluntarily revealed that he has no interest in anything really other than elevating his own personal status and, like, winning arguments and shit like that. So that's pretty much it.
see it happen, but I saw the immediate aftermath. He was covered in blood. I saw a man who had been shot in the head. There was a constant stream of bloody bodies being carried back towards the ambulances. It was surreal and endless. It became almost normal. It was happening so often. A shot, a person falling, people carrying the body away. The number of wounded was astonishing. I couldn't say how many people I saw who were shot because it was so high. I have covered wars in Syria, Yemen, Libya, and I've never seen anything like this. The slow, methodical shooting. It was just shocking. Presenting this fact is only a one-sided history if you think intentional civilian targeting is somehow warranted due to other unrelated instances of violence, which definitionally cannot be true. This is, of course, if we're taking international law into account, but Destiny's a Zionist, so that's not high on his priority list.
I'm pro-genocide.
Destiny has had similar Israel glazing-induced English language difficulties in the past. He had this same response when Norman Finkelstein brought up the 2018 border protests in the Lex Friedman Israel-Palestine debate early last year.
In 2018, there was the Great March of Return in Gaza. By all reckonings of human rights organizations and journalists who were there, it was overwhelmingly nonviolent. Along the Gaza perimeter, there was Israel's best trained snipers, correct?
I don't know best trained, there were snipers.
Fine,
Snipers.
Okay, all right?
They're
Because,
editorializing.
hey, laugh. It's hilarious. The story's so funny.
You're lying about
It's
the Great
so
March of Return
funny.
had aspects of violence to it.
Okay.
According, even the UN says it themselves.
Okay.
But you only collect what the UN says that you like.
See, the problem, Mr. Morelli, is you don't know the English language.
I can read from the UN website itself. In regards to the Great March of Return, they said, while the vast majority of protesters have acted in a peaceful manner, during most protests, dozens have approached the fence, attempting to damage it, burning fires, throwing stones, and Molotov cocktails towards Israeli forces, and flying incendiary kites and balloons into Israeli territory. The latter results in extensive damage to agricultural land and nature reserves inside Israel, and risk the lives of Israeli civilians. Some instances of shooting and throwing of explosives also
Talk fast.
I'm just trying to
think that you're coherent.
I'm just noticed Destiny's retort to Norm's description of the protests being overwhelmingly nonviolent is that there were actually aspects of violence. This is not a contradiction. Overwhelmingly means overwhelmingly.
16 سنة صوبت يوم الأرض تاريخ 30/3 يوم الجمعة. كنت على الحدود الشرقية في رفح. كان في آلاف من المتظاهرين والمتظاهرات شباب وفتيات
Yeah, they had to snipe like pregnant women and medics that were clearly defined as medics, by the way, because they were throwing stones, I guess. Random people were burning tires and throwing stones. I guess that's totally valid and not an insane overreaction. They shot people in wheelchairs, man. They celebrated the act of shooting a pregnant woman by memorializing it with a t-shirt, famously calling it a 2-for-1 special. Get the out of here. It's a truly depraved country.
وأطفال وشيوخ. وصلت على الساعة 9 صباحا. بدينا إنه أول ما وصلنا قعدنا شفنا وين رح نقعد وبعديها رجعنا صلينا الجمعة ورجعنا أنا وصاحبتي. لما وصلنا لقينا كل الشباب راجعين كلهم لورا ما حد متقدم. فمسكنا أنا وياها إيد بعض وصلنا نقدم قدامهم واجوا باقي البنات صاروا يمسكوا ايدينا والشباب صاروا يهتفوا لنا ويشجعونا اكثر مشان نقدم اكثر. كنت امسك الاعلام واغرسهم واقرب اكثر واكثر. غرست العلم ومسكت علم ثاني وصرت الوح فيه. فالاحتلال يعني ما عجبه هالمنظر يعني. طبعا يعني كنت انا محروقه يعني من جوا كنت بغلي يعني. تعال شوفي كل الظلم يعني انت بتعيش كل يوم. كنت من الأقلية الموجودين يعني كنا بنعد على أصابعي اللي قدام. وأنا قدمت كثير وكنت بعيد عن اليهود أقل شيء 20 متر. لما لوحت في العلم سمعت صوت طلع صوبت صدمة يعني كابوس. أول ما شالوني وقعت على الأرض بعدين شالوني ثاني مرة ودوني على الإمبلاس. كنت يعني بدي أنام كنت وجع كثير.
Now you find it so far-fetched. Israelis purposely, deliberately targeting civilians? That's such a far-fetched idea. an overwhelmingly nonviolent march. What did the UN investigation find? Brace yourself. You thought it was so funny, the idea of IDF targeting civilians. It found, go look this up on your machine.
I already know what you're going to say. You're going to say it found that only one or two of them were justified killings.
Targeted journalists, targeted medics, and here's the funniest one of all. It's so hilarious. They targeted disabled people who were 300 meters away from the fence and just standing by trees.
Zionism's crazy because it kind of backs you into a corner of having to defend the indefensible. And I don't know, if you're as shameless as Destiny is, that's not really an issue.
They're doing it to themselves.
But for most rational human beings, you see someone arguing that and you say, oh, that's an insane person. And that's the high ground we have on Zionism. The more people understand the truth, the less people...
It's so funny that Destiny still thinks he didn't lose this debate. It is because he has to maintain a posture of strength because he understands that his audience only responds to that. If he were to ever admit defeat, then they would go, oh, you're a moron. That's it. That plus we live in the post-truth era. It doesn't matter. He both lost on the optics and on the substance. He bit off more than he could chew. He was not going after like a random misogynistic podcaster for once. He was actually going after someone who was infinitely more knowledgeable than him on this issue. Norm Finkelstein, at least on the issue of Gaza, is one of the most solid chroniclers of the truth. It's crazy. How come Norm doesn't with you anymore? What are you talking about? There's no planet where he didn't with me. He doesn't even know who I am. I live on the internet. He does not. He doesn't even have a phone. He has a landline.
To be publicly willing to defend these crimes. Destiny later nitpicks my comment about the media's use of terrorist designation in articles before covering the attack.
I don't know. Is everyone you bring on a troll?
No, usually I verify people, but I was like, because it's really
big. Is Norman Jinkelstein a troll?
That's a good question. That I don't know. I'm not too sure about that.
Well, what was that debate even like, dude? I saw like a bit in piece on Twitter about it. Apparently they were like, yo, Destiny got owned. And every clip that I watched, I'm like, the guy who you were debating was just getting emotional the whole time. It's like, you're reading Wikipedia. It's like...
That second voice that you're hearing in the background is Mudahar. He was just getting like emotional the whole time, dude. He seemed to be such a brilliant orator, dude. Yeah. Oh, is it surprising to you that Mudahar took these idiotic stances, also going along with the smear campaign against pro-Palestinian voices? Well, also, you know, still trying to maintain a presence where he's like, oh, well, I think, like, you know, I just don't like death, dude. How did that happen? Oh, man. Oh, man, how did that happen? Here's the problem. People who don't want to learn about anything, people who don't want to read about anything, would much rather get their information from this dingus on screen. This sex pest on screen. They like him. They think he's brilliant. Because he has the capacity to present himself as much smarter than he actually is. That's all it is. So they respond to the optics of it. It's ironic because he did this against Jordan Peterson so expertly all the time. I remember a time when Destiny used to on Jordan Peterson and his fan base aggressively because Jordan Peterson or Tim Pool or many other right-wing commentators would present themselves as like intellectual authorities on the subject matter that they were talking about when they very clearly didn't know what the they were saying, and their fans believed them. Now he's been doing this for the past couple of years at this point. There is no better sign of your intellectual inferiority than listening to an argument, listening to a debate between two people and not actually seeing the veracity of the statements, not actually recognizing which side is presenting factual arguments, which side is presenting cherry-picked points, and doing not such a great job at it either. And instead going, oh, well, he just seemed really emotional, so you lost. You won the argument, King. You were so unemotional.
Bro, they have sources attached. He's not clicking on the source.
Well, and also I never read Wikipedia to him. I was like quoting like either the Amnesty International or the UN or the ICJ, but he was ultra triggered, but you know.
Yeah, but I read real books, not websites.
The funniest part about it is that Destiny is smarter than this. So I know in this moment, he has a little bit of resentment towards who his allies are. Like, he'll entertain it because at least someone is on his side, and this is like him licking his wounds. But you can tell he's just like, ugh. I don't even think he likes Ethan. I think he probably thinks he's surrounded by dumb by his own perspective, because he thinks he has a heightened sense of his own intelligence where he just like he thinks he's super brilliant, and he's very narcissistic. So he probably despises that there aren't any like genuinely intelligent people on his side on any of these issues. He'll take the help wherever he can get, and his fan base certainly uses Ethan like a fleshlight, you know, uses him as a weapon basically. But you know, deep down inside, he's like, oh, he's like, yeah, good point, Muda. Really brilliant point, man. Yeah, he surely was emotional. I definitely didn't get owned there.
These outlets always, of course, make sure to mention Hezbollah's U.S. designation as a terrorist organization. Don't worry, guys. They were just terrorists. Nothing to see here. We got the bad guys. They were bad. We are good. Mission accomplished.
Relying on a U.S. terrorist designation is retarded. But you don't need to do that. You could just know what Hezbollah is, which is like a paramilitary militant group that's funded by Iran that now has like seats in the Lebanese government that is like possibly taken over the southern part of that country, right? You could just know that. You don't have a U.S. terrorist designation. But we're gonna start simping for them now? Is that what we're gonna do? Okay.
Even if we're going to explore the reasons why this terrorist designation is to him not illegitimate, it only reinforces the circular logic of the terrorist label. You don't have to call them terrorists to know that they are terrorists. Just look at what they do. They kill civilians. They violently overthrow government.
Yeah, it's so fun. This is the other aspect of Sex Pestany's commentary, is that on the one hand, he tries to present himself as this like incredible debater. A lot of why the audience thinks he's a brilliant debater is because he is a skilled orator, okay? He is not necessarily intelligent or knowledgeable on the matter. He's just very good at rhetoric and trapping people into and pinning them down into a rhetorical corner, oftentimes with the heavy utilization of logical fallacies that he tries to rationalize with a lot of confidence backing him, a lot of unearned confidence, really. But it's so funny. It's so funny when you are more knowledgeable on an issue and you listen to him talk. You're like, oh, I know what you're doing here. You don't know what the you're talking about. You're just manipulating the conversation to an area of pre-couched statements that you developed ahead of time. It's a rhetorical trap. And when the interlocutor knows better and doesn't fall into that trap, he just tries to like yell at them. The famous example of that is obviously the Michael from Pennsylvania argument that he had over was it buy, borrow, die? Like, it's so obvious that he's in the wrong, and in the wrong because he's not knowledgeable on the issue, but he just tries to aesthetically win the conversation by yelling at the other person. Your prop clipping? What is that? What? Yeah, so stock buybacks, yeah.
Governments. They take over entire countries. Okay, well, the U.S. does all of those things, but it isn't on the U.S. designated terrorist list, is it? Israel is U.S. backed, the U.S. being, by the criteria we just looked at, a terrorist state, but they're not on the list either. It's almost like these designations are selective and used to reinforce U.S. imperial hegemony. Oh my God, no way. What?
A subhuman, Neanderthal, knuckle-dragging, white, like Noah too, will sit here and defend Hezbollah, which is what he's doing, as like a legitimate governing party. Hassan, the terrorist supporter as well, who is also very white. Don't ever be mistaken by his background or the way he looks sometimes, depending on what he's trying to present. Hassan is also one of the whitest people in the West, okay?
This is also such a weird, like, pathological obsession with the way that I look that these guys constantly hit on. There's never been a moment where I haven't said that I'm white. Like, I will always say that I'm white. But depending on which side of the argument that you're on that suits your purpose better, these guys will literally call me a brown Islamist, fundamentalist terrorist, or a white guy who's out of touch. It literally always changes. They are the ones who changed the dynamic, and then they act like I'm the one who's changing the dynamic. Who was it? I remember there was a guy who was literally saying that I was trying to appear Arab because I was trying to appear Arab because it was the summer and I was going out and playing basketball, so I was more tan. One of his dumbass fans was like, "Oh, look at you trying to look like an Arab, dude." Yeah, I'm a anti-white racist, but also an out-of-touch white guy. Fantastic.
Okay. One of the whitest people in the West. He's one of the whitest people in the West, folks. You've never seen a whiter guy than this Hassan guy. Ultimately, we don't need to take people like Destiny seriously. Zionists criticizing Hezbollah is not doing so in good faith. Obviously, he is a Zionist. He supports the genocidal Israeli regime and opposes resistance to it, which is what Hezbollah is. The group exists as a response to Israel's repeated colonial killing sprees in Lebanon, which are not terrorism, apparently, because Israel's the good guys. So he's not a person we need to take seriously in any of these conversations on what needs to be done. That's the sort of criticism trap here on YouTube. You know, a guy who isn't a part of your movement criticizing your movement. I don't like having to even bring him up. I honestly just like that white boy's clips. I thought it was funny.
One of the whitest people in the West. Subhuman, Neanderthal, knuckle-dragging, white.
So I'll look at some more of this stuff in future video responses. I'm going to split them up point by point and see if we can dive a little deeper into these topics. I think that has potential to be worth it, but we'll see. Today, though, I want to look at just a few of the common arguments I saw from Ethan Klein, his supporters, and other participants of this campaign. And because this video is more influencer drama focused, I'm going to take that opportunity to do a sponsor now. That's when I'll do them, when I'm talking about random internet micro celebrities, for as long as I need to do them, which hopefully isn't much longer. Support me on Patreon to make them stop. There's been an escalation in the trend of crackdowns over free speech and the right to protest in America. The US government and intelligence agencies have the ability to deploy warrantless surveillance against anyone. This is done through things like Section 702, geofencing warrants, sales to data brokers, and national security letters, all of which are used by the government to bypass the judicial system to monitor your communications. Basically, if big tech has access to your information, so does the US government, which is an issue if you want to be protesting that government. This is why I'm excited to talk about the sponsor of today's video, which is Proton Mail. Unlike the majority of other email platforms, Proton Mail is end-to-end encrypted with zero access.
That in order to help me maintain my editorial independence, and I won't burp into the microphone any longer. I keep forgetting to do call outs. That's right. You can subscribe for $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime. Sext Haver, thank you. By subscribing, you get new badges, emotes, and also the opportunity to link stuff to me. That's right. Fantastic opportunity. From what I understand, Ethan is also now, once again, dude, has Ethan ever not projected, by the way? Like, has there ever been a moment where Ethan was like, this is something that I have never done, and now I'm calling out this person for doing? Has that ever happened? It's ironic because if he went after, like, I don't know, Destiny for sex crimes or whatever, he could technically say that, right? He could technically be like, well, I've never shared nude, like, revenge porn with other random, like, Discord groypers that I want to, right? Like, he could just so easily actually criticize someone without directly being in the crosshairs. And instead, in this instance, he's now, I think, yelling at Noah for having a sponsor on this, when in fact, ironically enough, his context nuke was also sponsored. He was like, this is a very serious issue. This is the arch anti-Semite who loves terrorism. One of the most important issues of all time, pestering the Western world with his discourse, radicalizing the youth. Maybe he loves Hamas and also Hezbollah. Also, here's an Express VPN ad. Like, dude, what are you doing? Every single accusation is a confession. He'll cry about snark pages while also using his subreddit as a snark page. This is why it's like pretty funny whenever I do like a fraction. Whenever I respond with a fraction of the smoke that he has had for me over the past half of a year, he loses his goddamn mind. He's like, I'm gonna sue every human being on the planet. I'm gonna go chain myself to the headquarters of YouTube because people are being mean to me on YouTube now. I'm gonna chain myself to the Reddit headquarters because my former fans hate me. Or yeah, that's the other thing. When he also says like I'm obsessed. That's so funny. It's like, oh, this Hassan guy, he's so obsessed with me. It's like, dude, come on, please go one stream. Go one goddamn stream without having my name on it. Okay? You try to desperately bring back the new fans that you've developed in your community that are only there for the toxic anti-Hassan rhetoric. So whenever you can't go over 20K, you're like, no, guys, I promise. There's anti-Hassan stuff in here. I promise. Shit. Yeah, I see the titling and thumbnailing. It's all over Twitter. It's all over Reddit. Yeah. No, if I it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. Now, what's funny about it is that I warned Ethan months ago where I was like, dude, if you keep doing the Hassan button, you're just going to become like a one-note, incredibly toxic community of people that desperately want that. And you're going to shed away your actual loyal fan base slowly but surely because even they are not dedicated to hating me as much as you are. And then those other guys, in order to recultivate the fan base that you once had that care about the goofs and gaffs, you're going to move away from the anti-Hassan and then you're going to lose the new fans that came in just for the anti-Hassan I said this months ago. I was like, listen, you're up your own bag. You're up your own content. Because the new fans that come in because of the crash out, they're not like real loyal fans. They, as a matter of fact, hate you. They don't care. They've hated you for a very long time, and they probably still hate you, but they love that you're attacking me. All the while, you're losing your fans who love you and constantly criticizing them and acting like you want to dox them and The moment that you now turn off the anti-Hassan commentary, those new guys are going to leave. They're going to probably call you the R word again, like Destiny used to call you until he realized he could use you as a weapon.
Blocking, inbox cleaning. Switching to Proton Mail is really easy. You can import past emails seamlessly and forward Gmail messages to your new Proton Mail address, or you can start fresh with a clean slate. It's up to you. Proton Mail has over 100 million users and is 100% funded by customer subscriptions, and all services are completely ad-free. They operate out of Switzerland, where they benefit from robust privacy laws. Proton got started with a public crowdfunding campaign and is owned by the Proton Foundation, which is a nonprofit dedicated to ensuring privacy and data protection. Sign up for free using my link at proton.me/Noah Samson to protect your privacy and also support the channel. All right, back to the video now. In this Instagram story, Ethan asks the question, when did I ever support a genocide?
When did we ever back a genocide?
I'm sorry.
When? Like, show me.
I have an answer to that. Let's go over it once again. Ethan Klein was the primary signal booster for the smear campaign against pro-Palestine activists that was orchestrated by a group of openly genocidal Zionists during the active genocide of Palestinians in Gaza. Every point raised in his content nuke video was borrowed directly from Destiny and his community regarding Hassan's alleged terrorism support, his alleged anti-Semitism, and his alleged extremist views.
Hassan uncritically interviewed this kid for about an hour. It was the most brazen display of disgusting terrorist propaganda that I have maybe ever seen in Western media. Okay, fine. He likes Hamas, he watches their propaganda, but he's not going to deny the violent rapes that took place. That is way beyond the pale.
Ethan himself.
Oh my God, he's just showed sources. Oh, he's sourcing it directly back to the subreddit. Once again, a subreddit that when we first started the Leftovers podcast despised him. A subreddit that actively called him the R slur. A subreddit that actively made fun of him, made fun of his wife, made fun of all of the employees, made fun of Teddy Fresh, everything. In ways that I have not, by the way. Like, people will say, oh, you make fun of Teddy Fresh? Like, yeah, sure, there's like some of the merch that I made fun of. But the that these guys used to say about Ethan, and then only to turn around and act like they're massive fans of him, specifically because he became an anti-Hassan loyalist. And it's funny because I don't even think they still like him. They think he's stupid. They just like that he is constantly elevating the smears. It is hilarious. It's also kind of sad that he just doesn't recognize that.
This very stream reveals that he is
They see Ethan as a useful idiot.
aware of Destiny's comments that openly endorse the genocide of Palestinians.
The only person he's probably not defaming here would be Destiny because of his comment about, he said, I believe in genocide. He said, I think, and during one conversation, like that the Palestinians should just leave. So if you're talking about defamation, that's like an easy out, right? For legally speaking.
So that's one way to back genocide, is by functionally collaborating with an openly genocidal Zionist who you know is openly genocidal on a video that reached over 3 million people exclusively using arguments and out of context clips that were compiled by the community of that openly genocidal Zionist. The other major way that Ethan backed the genocide of Palestinians in Gaza with his video was by spreading atrocity propaganda narratives that the Israeli state, military, and its backers in the West have used as rhetorical justification for their genocidal actions. This backing precedes Ethan's content nuke, as he was one of the first major content creators to spread the 40 beheaded babies hoax.
They found 40 dead babies at this kibbutz where like tons of people got killed. Now, I don't know if they were beheaded, okay? And some people really care about that detail. So to me, the 40 babies is enough.
I never really thought that I would see and have confirmed pictures of terrorists beheading children.
A false claim that he has yet to rescind or apologize for making. In the content nuke, he doubles down with this sort of propagandizing for the state of Israel by spreading the Hamas mass rapes hoax. He cited the documentary from Sheryl Sandberg.
Bro, Israelis don't even believe these interrogations are valid. The purpose of these interrogations are to humiliate Palestinians. It's not actually it's torture. Like, these are tortured people. What the? I didn't even realize he was like, did he actually use the interrogations? Like the torture confessions as proof that like Hamas was doing mass rapes? Is he that stupid? No, he did not. Oh, they're saying Sheryl Sandberg used them. Okay, good. Oh, Jesus Christ. I was going to say. Also, by the way, he used the reason why Noah's bringing up Sheryl Sandberg's video, Sheryl Sandberg's documentary. Sheryl, who, by the way, has allegations against her that came out recently. The reason why he's showing this is because he did use a clip from Sheryl Sandberg's documentary, in air quotes, about like the mass rapes hoax. How was it found that they were confessions under duress? First of all, there is no confessions under torturous conditions anyway, but it's not a secret. Like there are no acting. There's no way to get actionable intelligence under torture. There's an entire conversation that I had recently about America doing torture in Guantanamo Bay and how they found zero actionable intelligence. That's number one, because people when they're tortured just tell you what you want to hear. They just cop to it. But these guys, or these torturous confessions are specifically designed to repeat whatever the Israeli narrative is at the time. Like they would get them to say, yes, Hamas is just like ISIS, like that. I remember watching it at the time, and it is not a secret that Israel tortures Palestinians, including these guys. You can literally see that he's like bloody and beaten up in the confession. Like, what are we talking about? They don't even try to hide that they're doing this. It's usually done. These interview confessions or these interrogation confessions under torture are just done simply to like elevate whatever the Israeli claim is, and to have like Palestinian captives repeat those talking points. They've done this to children too, by the way, which is insane. I remember covering it a while. Like, there's a very famous incident of a child who's like 14 years old in a similar situation, and they're just like making him say whatever they want.
Relied on testimony made under duress in Israeli detainment centers and unverified claims from witnesses.
Earlier this year, former Facebook executive Sheryl Sandberg produced a documentary that was screened at the White House and on Capitol Hill.
Last year, Hamas committed horrific acts of sexual violence. Sheryl, I thank you for all your work to bring to light the horrors of this issue and for your film about what happened on October 7th.
The way that Sandberg proved her case, shockingly, was significantly through the use of coerced interrogation videos. The documentary, of course, won praise in the pages of the New York Times and is, to this day, sitting on the White House website. The White House website now says, quote, preventing and responding to conflict-related sexual violence is a top priority for President Biden and Vice President Harris. Since October 7th, President Biden, Vice President Harris, and our entire administration have consistently condemned Hamas' horrific sexual violence. On June 17th, the Vice President hosted an event at the White House, which included a panel discussion and remarks by advocates and survivors of CRSV from around the world, and a partial screening of Sheryl Sandberg's documentary, Scream Before Silence, on Hamas's sexual violence on October 7th. Now, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, B'Tselem, and Physicians for Human Rights Israel all rejected the use of hostage interrogation videos in the months after.
Wait, what? What? No way. Another group of anti-Semitic charlatans, once again, saying Israel's usage of tortured confessions is not viable and actually, lo and behold, a direct violation of international human rights. Oh, they must be Hamas. They must be anti-Semitic. Isn't it strange how everyone is anti-Semitic? It's just crazy. The United Nations is anti-Semitic. Human Rights Watch is anti-Semitic. B'Tselem, the Israeli human rights organization, is anti-Semitic. It's just so crazy. The coincidence that all of these groups, many of them, like human rights, was it Amnesty International or Human Rights Watch? Like literally created by a Holocaust survivor who is a Zionist. Like understand something here. They're calling that guy anti-Semitic, dude. Yeah, Human Rights Watch was created by a Holocaust survivor who himself, in the aftermath of October 7, was like, whoa, 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 I don't know, this is not a genocide. And then he saw the situation. He was like, okay, dude. He was like, I'm a Zionist. I love Israel. Holy they're doing a genocide. Oh.
And most news outlets chose to reject their use as well, citing the likelihood the confessions were extracted by torture. Sheryl Sandberg, the White House, and Hamas have all gone a different direction.
Now, my point about this propaganda claim seems to have been misconstrued by some viewers of my video. The claim in question is not that rapes occurred, rather that Hamas systematically weaponized sexual violence during the attacks. This was the claim spread by mainstream news outlets like the New York Times and used by the US government and the Israeli government as a pretext for blowing up occupied apartment buildings.
It's interesting because what's really up about this, especially because like they put me in the crosshairs on this issue, is that there was never a moment where I was like blanketly applying that no rapes had happened and you're just wrong, right? Even to this day, I maintain the position that there is a likelihood that in times of conflict, especially when like criminal elements penetrate the security boundary of Gaza, like, or not criminal elements, but just like random people that are not a part of a militia movement, there is a likelihood that it could have happened. It happens in times of conflict all the time. And having said that, Israel has been the only person, the only unit, the only organization that stood against justice for victims. Okay? They, one, undermined all the forensic evidence initially, and two, have never allowed any sort of independent investigation to be committed and to simply take their word on it without showing any evidence whatsoever. To this day, there's not a single piece of first-hand account, like real first-hand, reliable testimony. As a matter of fact, all the first-hand testimony that has been presented in the aftermath of October 7 and repeated in perpetuity were very quickly dismissed because people found out that these guys were just lying. Meanwhile, the claim that there were systematic mass rapes that happened on October 7 that were directed by Hamas was complete. That's it. The only evidence in that regard is actually evidence to the contrary, that this was not a thing that happened. Meanwhile, if you want to look at systematic evidence, look no further than the Israeli prison system. Plenty of real hard evidence there, including footage, like CCTV camera footage of concentration camp guards raping Palestinian prisoners to death. look no further than the mentality of the Israeli society, at least certain segments of Israeli society, that did a pro-rape riot after the Israeli government, the Israeli prosecutors wanted to prosecute 6 of the concentration camp guards that had raped Palestinian prisoners to death with a metal rod. And the far right in Israel went up in arms with weapons and balaclavas and stormed the goddamn. Hassan, you're spoiling the video? Okay, well, I'm sorry. This is very frustrating. All right, let's just keep going. Let's
target low-level Hamas commanders. The UN report that was released and cited widely by defenders of Israel as evidence that this is true says the opposite. The mission team was unable to establish the prevalence of sexual violence and concludes that the overall magnitude, scope, and specific attribution of these violations would require a fully fledged investigation. Ethan's citation of the conclusion to this report, point 86, that there are, quote, reasonable grounds to believe that conflict-related sexual violence occurred at several locations, does not at all verify the claims made in his
yeah. Unlike Ethan, I actually read that report on stream, because unlike Ethan, I actually do research. And ironically enough, if Ethan had done at least a little bit of research on what I've said on this issue, he could have found that video of me going through line by line of the report itself. The report itself does not say what any number of these different pro-Israel morons claim it says. The report itself actually is quite damning if you understand the language that they're using, where they say, beyond circumstantial evidence, beyond a forensic analysis of footage, where we are speculating that someone might have been victimized due to the crime of rape. There is no hard evidence on this. The only instance that reaches beyond the hearsay or now falsified firsthand accounts is the hostage testimony. One of the Israeli hostages testified that she was sexually assaulted. That is the only instance of real hard evidence. And that was after October 7th. That wasn't even on October 7th. That's what's so crazy about it. It's like these guys literally. And that's unjustifiable, by the way. Just make no mistake. Obviously, there's no pro-resistance rape or whatever. That's not what I'm saying either. But it's wild that these guys unironically refuse to do the research and then make it your problem. Like I have to deal with this for the rest of my life now. You know what I mean? People just being like, "Oh, dude, I saw something about you, dude. What the going on?" It's like, get the out of here.
Video in the central piece of evidence which he cited for it, which was Sheryl Sandberg's propaganda film.
What happened on October 7th was mass, systematic, planned rape and genital mutilation of women.
Nor in all the places that systematic sexual violence was alleged against Hamas, which it was many, many places, mainstream places. This conclusion also does not contradict anything Hassan has ever said about October 7th. In every clip cited in the video, Hassan is talking about the systematic rapes claim.
The systematized mass rapes that Hamas dealt on October 7th, not a single bit of that has been verified.
The clip that was cited repeatedly by Ethan, what he seemed to think was a smoking gun,
downplaying the violence, specifically the sexual violence, which he's done a lot of.
Doesn't matter if rapes happen on October 7th. Like that doesn't change the dynamic for me even this much. So that's the other part of this problem that many people that can't contend with. Like the Palestinian resistance is not perfect. They're not like so good. They have magical bullets.
Ethan's presentation of this clip is dishonest, though.
It doesn't even matter. None of this justifies that Palestinians have a right to dignity, a right to emancipation, a right to live free lives, free from this occupation. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if this happened on October 7th. Like that doesn't change the dynamic for me even this much.
Hassan isn't talking about sexual violence in a vacuum. He's talking about it in relationship with something else, in relationship with the struggle for Palestinian liberation. It's like saying that it doesn't matter if rapes occurred during a slave rebellion. That doesn't change the dynamic that slavery should still be abolished, which is an entirely uncontroversial statement if you're against slavery, of course. Some noted that the UN report called for further investigation.
You know what's funny? Even Noah's video doesn't show the fuller context. Do you guys want to see the full context of that famous clip that Ethan used in his context nuke? Because I'm not even just talking about like, I'm not even talking about just that like rapes does not mean genocide is justified. It's me literally debating a chatter who's like, why won't you dismiss the rape claims? And my position in this is that there is still a likelihood that sexual assault took place. There is still a likelihood that sexual assault took place on October 7th.
Many hostages have records of saying two different things. Also, how are you sure Israel didn't force them to lie? That's ridiculous. By the way, none of which justifies Israel's actions. So it doesn't even matter. None of this justifies that Palestinians have a right to dignity, a right to emancipation, a right to live free lives, free from this occupation. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if rapes happen on October 7th. Like, that doesn't change the dynamic for me even this much. So
the original time he reacted to that comment, he agreed with you? Isn't that crazy?
That's the other part of this problem that many people get.
Isn't that wild?
Into these alleged crimes, and that's true, it did. However, further investigations have been repeatedly denied by only one party, and that party is Israel.
Why not put the responsibility and blame the atrocities quite simply on the perpetrators and say it was Hamas who did it?
When I accepted the invitation from the government of Israel, we had a number of meetings and we discussed the parameters and explained clearly the purpose of the mission, which was only for the purpose of gathering, analyzing, and verifying information.
But still, it is pretty clear who did it after talking to survivors and hostages returned, right? It wasn't the Belgians who did it. Just, I mean, it's pretty clear.
I understand the frustration of the people of Israel. I mean, like, I was distressed when I came to Israel because I saw a traumatized nation. So I understand the frustration, but I think it's up to your government to give access, and that's one also of my first recommendation.
What's interesting is that Ethan has showed some level of skepticism for these sorts of allegations before, but only when the victims were Palestinian.
Palestinian females freed from Israeli detention said more than 15 fellow Palestinian women were raped by Israeli interrogators to force them to confess to charges leveled against them and collaborate with the Israeli intelligence. Quote, Israeli investigators and intelligence officers keep videotapes of raping to blackmail the female detainees. So according to, I guess, this website, this doesn't seem like super credible, at least, or I mean, it might be credible, but...
You have an issue with...
AB's dad works for CARE, by the way. AB's dad works for CARE, the website and the organization that he's considering to be not credible. Council for American Islamic Relations.
With CARE or Islam.net or the...
Well, what is this?
The lack of...
I mean, listen, that's a huge claim. 15 Palestinian women were raped.
Mm-hmm.
I was sexually abused and photographed, she said. But, like, what? I don't know what this is. What is this?
What do you mean?
Is this a source?
You're asking if it's credible.
Yeah, yes, CARE is credible. I think, at least.
What is
CARE is
There's no source. There's like nothing here. Like, I mean, that's a pretty extraordinary.
It's interesting because there's so much evidence for this, and I told him that I would return to him with like additional evidence, and I think he even found it himself. And I remember the Destiny community at the time found this like insane source that claimed that Israelis were too racist to rape the Palestinians. And that was the argument that they were going with. Like in Destiny's subreddit, I remember they were like, Hassan is so stupid for lying about Israeli systematized rape in Israel and Israeli prisons. Because here's this proof from a scholar that Israelis think Palestinians are too subhuman to actually rape them. They literally did that, by the way. That was a real thing that they did at the time. I don't know if someone can find it in the Destiny subreddit. I'm sure it's still out there. Around like a day after, or the same day that this video came out, I remember seeing it. I always thought it was gross they had to split prep and never even warned you so that you could bring in sources. You just put you on the spot. There's so much confirmed evidence on this. Oh, you found it. There it is. Archive post examining the Israelis raping Palestinian women's claims. There's a paper that claims the lack of rape by the IDF is due to racism. Racism. I owe you an apology. I wasn't really familiar with your game. This is them like just having fun because they wanted to dunk on me. Having a conversation with Ethan about like the credible allegations made by numerous Palestinian victims under Israeli prisons. If you want to know how someone can be so consistently on the wrong side of every argument. Here it is. Okay. The bastard